Today is Wednesday, May 30th, 2018, and we are at the Moline Public Library in Moline, Illinois. My name is Jan LaRoche. I will be interviewing Leon Larson for the Illinois Veterans History Project on behalf of the Moline Public Library. Leon was born on December 5th, 1929, and is 88 years old. Also present is Lois Larson. Okay, so Leon, would you tell us first a little bit about what your life was like before you joined the service? What was your childhood like?
Oh, my childhood? I grew up in Moline, went to 3 different grade schools, and went to John Deere Junior High, and went to Moline High School, graduated 1948. And I don't know, I was interested in growing plants, and I got a job during school working for a man in Moline who grew orchids for a hobby, and I took care of those, and then when I got out of school, I got a job working for Platt's Nursery over in Davenport. Spent 7 or 8 years with him, and Ben's Nursery in Moline, and his son Bernie, and I just got interested in gardening, and so I had I was part of the high school and officers running the city for one day, and of course I was under Ralph Burks. Him and I went around all over doing park stuff. So I don't know, and then
She just wants it up until you go into the service.
yes.
That's okay.
And I went, and I went into business for myself for a couple of years, and then I got a job working for Rock Island Memorial Park, doing some landscaping and helping out there, and then I was drafted. I got a letter from the government stating I was drafted into the Army, so I had to go. My mother and father saw me off at the train station in Moline, and went up to Chicago, went through all the formalities there, and they took a train down to Camp Breckenridge in Kentucky, where I took my training down there under 101st Airborne. They were stationed down there in Breckenridge, and so from there they shipped me up to New Jersey to Camp Kilmer in New Jersey, And that was a melting pot for going all different directions. And some went to California and eventually over to Korea, and others went to Germany, which I guess I was fortunate to go to Germany with the occupational forces after World War II. We had occupations all over Germany, and so we got on this boat, USS Ballou. It was made by Fraser Kaiser made cars. Their boats weren't any better than their cars, but we saw the Statue of Liberty, and I spent a couple of weeks in there in Camp Kilmer, but I ended up mostly in New York City on passes and all that, and saw a lot of shows and stuff. But anyways, we were all loaded on the boat. We got halfway out in the Atlantic, and we had to have a lifeboat test. So they dropped the lifeboats in the water. Well, one of the lifeboats broke their cable and ended up floating in the middle of the ocean. We had to stop, haul it back to the boat, and they took a big crane and lifted it up and put it upside down on a spot on the boat, and took it back to upside down. We had to have it to get across. Of course, we went through the English Channel, saw the Dover on the left side, and it was very rough through the Channel, rougher than the Atlantic. Well, we ended up in Bremerhaven. They dropped anchor, and the anchor fell right off of the chain into the water. And the Air Force had a band down there playing "If You Knew We Were Coming with a Big Cake," and so they, with a lot of tugboats, they put it up against the shore, and we finally debarked from the tub, and then got on a train, and I didn't know where we were going, but we ended up in southern Germany called Sandhofen. It was a station that Hitler had for his youth to train them. Of course, that was all done for after the war, and so we moved in there, and we got our first taste of beer, German beer, and that was a beautiful place. It was up in the mountains, and we had good service there, and it was another depart place. So after a couple of weeks there, we ended up in the 4th Division in Butzbach, Germany. That's a little bit north of Frankfurt, Germany. There's Butzbach and Bad Nauheim and Frankfurt. And so when I was in the army there, I thought, well, I'm going to be carrying a M1 rifle, and that didn't sound good to me. But a friend of mine, a buddy of mine, him and me, went out on passes quite often, and went as far as we could, looking at different little towns. We did our training in Butzbach, and I got to know the Colonel Green, who was stationed there in Butzbach, and I did some landscaping for him, planted some flowers and stuff, and he knew me pretty well. Things were rationed. Cigarettes and coffee were rationed. You were allowed so many cartons of cigarettes each month. And I never have smoked my whole life, but I found out that the Germans wanted to buy our cigarettes. So Norm Kangas, who was from Chicago, and me went into town and sold our cigarettes. We bought them at the PX, $1 a carton, and we sold it to the Germans for $10 a carton. And I thought, wow, that's great. And I became mailman for our company. I had my own little room, and half a door opened up from the top, and I'd put my head out and yell, mail call, and they'd all come rushing. These were recruits that were drafted from Chicago, New York, and Puerto Rico. And I had to know all these Puerto Rican names, and I called them out. Well, anyways, I kind of knew who was going to go home and who was going to stay there. I checked with the people who were going to go home. I said, "What are you going to do with your stamps?" And then, "Well, we don't need them." I said, "Oh, I'll take them." So I got more cigarettes that way. And so one day we were standing in line thinking about all these military questions, and Colonel Green came by asking men things about guard duty and regulations and all that. So I had that all in my mind. And the colonel stopped in front of me and said, "Private Larson, where do you sell your cigarettes?" I said, "Sir, it's against the law to sell cigarettes." He said, "I know it does." He said, I see you downtown, coming by my place with the packages under your arm. I said, well, I go into Boot Spa, a little town, and sell them. He says, don't you ever catch you selling your cigarettes at Boot Spa. You go down to Frankfurt to get a better price. I said, thank you, sir. And so after that we went down to Frankfurt, and in front of the Bahnhof, the train station, we met up with these young boys, young kids. Oh, you got cigarettes? Cigarettes? Yes, we do. How much you want for them? Oh, we want $20 a carton. I said, but they're good ones. They're Pall Mall. They're the longest ones you can buy. Oh, $20? Oh, well, I said, my friend here, he's from Chicago. Oh, gangster, you know. Oh, we'll get you $25, you know. So we made $25 each carton. So every time we went down there was a group of fellas, and the Germans would sell them by the pack to other Germans. They'd even sell them by the piece. So they made lots of money on them. So I figured that wasn't too bad. Germans were getting ripping off the soldiers anyways. We did all of that, and we took the trucks and dropped us off way up and the border between American line, it was divided into sections, British, French, American sections in Germany. They dropped us off at a town called Fulda, which was right on the border of the American and the Russian border, and there was a pass a road that went through the mountains, and right down to where there was a bridge and the rest of the road, and this is where the Germans the Russians would invade us if we were in that situation. So we had to have a permanent foxhole right there on top of the hill, looking down in the valley, and aimed at the bridge and the area there. So some of these guys, they dug a little sod up and just crawled into underneath the sod. That was their foxhole. Well, we're going to be here for a while, and this is my permanent spot if I'm going to be in case of an emergency. So I laid out my poncho, skimmed the sod off of there and put it aside, and then I started digging with my shovel. I started digging a foxhole. Well, since I worked at the cemetery, I knew how to help dig a hole by hand. So I made it well, almost 3 feet wide, 7 feet long, and 7 feet deep in one spot. And I put sod over the top of the hole with some boards and soil, and then the sod on top of that. Dug out a couple of little bushes to put in front of my hole. And so I had a part of a hole that was down 4 feet deep, and then made a chair out of that, and then just one little hole in the bottom, which was 7 feet deep, which would catch any rainwater to go down in there. So the colonel came by and said, looking at the different holes, "Where's the next one at?" I stuck my head out of the hole. I said, "Right here, sir." He was so impressed, and that I dug such a deep hole, and I thought it was kind of fun to have that, and so spent the night in the hole with my rifle and pointed out towards the bridge. And got kind of lonesome, and I pulled out this grenade launcher that was on the end of the rifle, and you put a grenade on that, and it shoots the grenade out into the air further than you could throw one. And I looked at that, and it says Rock Island Arsenal. So I was looking at that, and so thought, this is kind of nice. I'm here in Germany, way out from nowhere, and here is something from home. It was right there with me. So I had, I spent the time with this, I was sent, when I got back to Butzbach, then I was sent down to Frankfurt to the main post office where we get all our mail, and I was assigned a Jeep and a driver to take me down and to take me different places to pick up mail, like Rhein-Main Airport in Frankfurt, and then we loaded the big sacks of mail to different parts of Germany and around, and they needed a guard to go with the mail in the mail car. So I volunteered and took one train up to Berlin and dropped off mail downtown Berlin. And of course you had to go through the Russian border, and when they opened the door, I got rid of my rifle and had a pistol, a .45, and I looked down at my .45, and the Russian soldier standing there with a submachine gun, and I don't stand a chance against him. But anyways, I got to see Berlin, and I didn't take any pictures when I was there of left my camera at home. But I, walking down the street, and some German lady yelled at me and said, "Oh no, don't go any further. Don't go any further." Why? I said, "Oh, I just want to cross the street." "No, that's the German, or that's the Russian section, and they'll stop you." I said, "Who's going to stop me?" And she said, "Well, these men in those turrets, they have machine guns. They'd stop you." This was before there was a wall built there, and so then after that they built a wall and made a definite. So I got to see some of the places. I'm sorry, I can't. I have dry eyes, and it's hard.
It's okay.
And so, anyways, I took another train down to Birch's Gardens in Munich, and delivered mail down there. Took in Oktoberfest with the Germans, and everybody was friendly. But we spent lots of time just traveling around as much as I could. I traveled up to Sweden and saw some of my relatives up in Sweden, and went down the southern part of, saw Munich and all, and Birch's Gardens down there, and Hitler's Zugspitze. Saw a lot. In the States, we had to do our own dishes, KP, but in Germany, the Germans did that for us, which was really nice. We had good food, and I helped out in the kitchen sometimes, and on the weekends, there was a man who cooked for us on the weekends. He was from the motor pool. He drove a truck, and in civilian life, he was a cook at the Waldorf Astoria in New York. So we had good food on the weekends. I don't know what else can you remember anything? But I got it all down in my memoirs. I wrote all about it. Of course, after my 2 years was up, Colonel Green came into the barracks and sat down with me. He says, "This is something I gotta ask you if you want to re-enlist." He kind of smiled at me. I said, "No, thank you." I had 2 years was enough for me. Thank you very much. He said, I knew that's what you were going to say." So we had a good time together. But it was an interesting life. The buildings were still down from the war. There was a lot of rubble all over Frankfurt. Norm and I never got to see Norm anymore after that, but he was kind of a connoisseur of wine, German wines. He knew that. We had a real nice restaurant on the second floor in Frankfurt, waiters and wine men, and we ordered good wine, and we ordered a steak, potatoes, and a beer for about $7 or less. But, and I got time off for my birthday. I went to the Opera House and saw Aida, and I was dressed in my uniform, and we had to be dressed in our uniform when we were in Germany. In Sweden, I had to buy some civilian clothes because we weren't allowed to have our uniforms in Sweden. But we took another boat back out of the English Channel, heading for home, and we got a distress call from a boat that was carrying big steel beams. It was going towards Ireland. So our captain decided we wanted to go up to help them get it into shore into Ireland. So our ship went up that way and dropped, made sure that boat got safe. Some of the iron put a hole in the side of the boat, and so we got a little extra time before we got back to New York, and then from there I went, got on a train to Kellogg's, Kalamazoo, Michigan, where I got my papers, and any money I had left over, I was given some money, and I had to go on my own back home. Nobody did grease you at home, but I did get hold of my mother and father, and they came and got me. But it was quite an experience, and I appreciated having this interview, and I hope I've got something for you.
Well, thank you, Leon,
Yeah.
for the interview and also for your service to our country.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with us? Any stories or advice for young men and women of our country?
I think it's good to have. It's good to have a draft. Volunteers and all that. That's fine. But draft young people into the service and learn to get away from mom and dad, and the Army takes care of you 24 hours a day. The rest of the time is you're on your own. So there is no time, they're always after you. I also was in Germany. I was I was sort of an MP. They dropped me off at a little town, and our troops were going through there. They had to stop, and they come to an intersection, had to have somebody at the intersection tell you which way to go. And so that's what I did. Gathered up a whole lot of young boys and girls, and they were interested in seeing a soldier, and I made real good friends with a lot of these little kids. It was kind of fun. It was good to see. I don't know anything else.
Yeah.
You want to look through this, or?
Yeah, if you've got anything to share with us.
Yes, I sure would.
Okay. Is there anything that you'd like us to look at specifically in here, or?
Yes.
Go ahead and open it up, and if there's anything you want to tell me about.
Well, this is Camp Breckenridge, and then I have a story written out all about this there, and then this was down on Breckenridge. You see, there's more stories there, and these are the barracks that we had to go on. These are some of the men in there, and I have it all written out about all this. And there's stuff on the back showing. I just took a lot of pictures of men, and then this was New York. I saw the Rockettes and the UN and different parts, and then this was more information about different things. This is the Baloo, the boat that I took. And this was, we have so much stuff. We had a lot to look at. And then this was over in, well, it's so hard to, I can't, well, anyways, this is Sandhofen, where I said we, really nice place, nice tables and all that. I had good food. And this is more pictures of Sandhofen, the more pictures of Sandhofen. This is my outfit that I was with.
Which one are you?
I'm up on the top somewhere.
Oh, is it right here?
Yes.
The arrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. I wasn't too thrilled with this company, 8th Army. They were from Georgia, and all of their men were from Georgia, and they didn't like the idea of being replaced by people from New York, Chicago, and Puerto Rico, because they wanted their own. This is a script that we were given for money. And these are just some of our shots that we had in town, in Boot Spa.
Lots of stuff.
And just some more pictures. My sergeant and his. Sergeant was not too friendly. Pictures, all kinds of different things. Yeah, we'll go through this. Don't want, that's me there. And then between Butzbach and Frankfurt was a town called Bad Nauheim. This is Bad Nauheim. And later on, this is where Elvis Presley stayed when he was in the army. Fancy place. It's a beautiful little town. Had a big lake in town, and they had music playing at night, and they had little boats you could drive, paddle around and listen to music. They were playing, orchestra was playing, and these are just more different. This is Frankfurt. Buildings were cold, and some of the little towns all over. Oh, and these are, met a lot of Germans, and they were friendly with us, but then again, you had to kind of watch them. This is, when we were up in Fulda, this is the German barracks up there, and we stayed, and we joined the ski patrol, and that's me on my skis, and this is Norm Kangas, and these are some German soldiers. And I never got a picture of my foxhole, but we have pictures. These are some of the kids that I stopped were at different places. I had to stop, and of course they come swarming in there, and the Germans made a. You see how they're dressed. The German bakeries made a little roll, and there's so many pfennigs each, and I bought a whole bag full at these places and handed them out to the kids. Oh, they were so thrilled to get something from an American. But and this is Bad Nauheim. Oh, this is Hitler's place way up in the mountains, staying where he's Zugspitz is called. Well, that's about all I got. Got lots of different things, different books from this is one by our command we had.
Well,
But
thank
anyways.
you so much for sharing all of that with us, Lan.
Yeah, it's a lot to look at and explain all. I just saw somebody besides our family, should look at.
Yeah.
Have that available.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, well, I appreciate your doing all of this. You didn't have to do that. It's real nice to. I sure appreciate it.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. I'm very
Oh.
glad I got to hear it.
Oh, nice to meet you. My wife